Merry transfer and a happy 64-bit. No one asked for it, but here's another rant type video that will inevitably piss someone off. You know this type of thing fuels me anyway, so let's begin. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's been following this great transfer debacle, but despite what my two previous videos suggest, the situation is a bit more complex than people posting cats or freaking out about hourglasses. Now, if you've been living under a rock for the past 2 weeks, just know that SSG has grossly miscalculated the situation regarding transfers in the new servers. We've had delays on transfers reaching well over 100 hours. The servers saw a messy release with various technical issues and screw-ups, and I think these two posts from the executive producer himself really sums up this whole thing perfectly. We have now transferred over 1 million characters since the transfer opened. This is much higher than anticipated. My opinion on the awesomeness of this new server is probably compromised. In other words, their own expectations on transfers were wildly off the mark. As a result, SSG has spent the last 2 weeks on damage control, and sure, in time things will level out, but it's hard to defend them on this when they've already hyped up these 64-bit servers, and then rolled them out seemingly without even understanding the sheer volume of players that would need to be transferred. It shows a sheer dissonance between SSG and the player base, and it doesn't matter if you personally don't believe it's a problem, it reflects poorly on the company. Throughout the past week and a half, I've seen the Lotro community go through the 5 stages of grief, and amidst the transfer delays, numerous hiccups and technical conundrums that SSG has been trying to mitigate, there has emerged a type of player who thinks that by blindly defending SSG and shooting down any critique, things will somehow magically fix itself. Which leads me to the reason I wanted to make this video in the first place. Earlier this week, an article was published on Massively OP titled Toxic Positivity in the Land of MMORPGs. Now, while the article itself goes into several different MMOs and the wider issue of toxic positivity, the part I want to focus on comes from the author's own observation of the Lotro Discord. Honestly, give the whole thing a read if you have time. I'll put the link in the description. The article puts into words something I've been bitching about for ages now. Bree Royce writes, "If this were any MMORPG but Lotro, I would have expected people hurling vitriol and slurs and death threats starting on day 2. But that didn't really happen. Even the angry Lotro players were more aghast and frustrated than anything, and I just didn't see any real toxicity. Honestly, what got under my skin the most was really the opposite problem. It was people demanding that gamers stop complaining or demanding answers, suggesting that the top brass at SSG isn't responsible for the chaos. We now have games journalists seeing what we have seen for years. All in all, Lotro's community is far from toxic, yet you'll see a strange paranoia over trolls and disruption, but that is an issue for another time. Toxic positivity has been a big part of Lotro's community for a while now, and this isn't helped when anyone who does give solid critique ends up getting banned from the mainstream spaces or quits them, either through their own jadedness or through drawing the ire of so many white knights that it causes fights. I've seen it happen several times, heck, it's even happened to me. I'm sorry, but while you could argue in circles over virtue grind and Lotro stores or whatever, you have to be blind or willfully ignorant to defend the way 64-bit rollout has been handled. It's inexcusable, and it was entirely avoidable. SSG fucked up. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think the toxic positivity runs so deep that it's impossible to give real critique, but it does lead into a culture where people can't speak their minds in places where SSG will actually see it. I see a massive rift between what's allowed on the official Discord and what people actually say everywhere else. I have seen people who have never really interacted with the wider community before suddenly becoming the biggest outspoken bootlickers of SSG. It's bizarre to me to see the mentality of, if I don't see it, it must not be true, creep out of the bowels of world chat into a space where literally thousands of people communicate. But in a weird way, I also expected it. It's simply not worth arguing with these people, so I rant in these videos to blow off some steam and let people know that there's more nuance in the community than what a first glance may show. So I want to address those who may stumble onto this video and think, hang on, he's talking about me. No, I'm not. People all too often mistake justified critique of a game they like as being toxic or hateful, when in actuality I say the majority of people who give criticism on Lotro are coming from a place of genuine passion. I love this game, and I'd want to see it be the best it can possibly be. It's okay to admit that certain things about your favourite game are mismanaged, or neglected, or outright broken. As the article states, Toxic positivity undermines the devs' ability to seek absolution and make reparations. And no, asking for a goddamn hourglass housing decoration to celebrate this fuck up doesn't count. Get a grip. There are a number of things that I personally feel are a net negative for developers actually looking for feedback, but that's an issue for another time. Luckily, we have at least 2 developers that lurk various parts of the community for more focused feedback on things that they simply won't find on the forums or the official Discord, far away from this culture of toxic positivity. The truth of the matter is this: 64-bit servers aren't the silver bullet that will save the game from lag. It is a significant step in the right direction, and at least in my own experience, the lower ping and the architecture has made a noticeable improvement. Well, at least for the first few days, because now we're getting weird global lag spikes and server downtime. I'm also hearing that some people have had their wallets wiped due to some bug, so we're not out of the woods yet, far from it. Over 1,000 players will be on these new servers at peak times, and while I'm just a player and I don't have the data, I would speculate that not enough was done to reduce the server load. There's still a myriad of issues that SSG cannot be ignoring. Lotro is turning 18 this year. There are characters who've been around for just as long, and I think we're all aware about the nature of character reload and an ever-aging game. The deedlog rework was supposed to phase out the old one and address the issues under the hood of the old system by simply removing it from the game, and that's fine. But at the time of making this video, the new deedlog is currently disabled because it was a broken mess, meaning nothing was actually done about it. We never actually had a meaningful quality of life update, and the raid release, oh boy, because tier 2 and 3 are getting delays after delays, and at this point we won't see them until the second quarter of this year. Perhaps there is a silver lining though. They decided to drop out the 64-bit servers right in the middle of the scheduled rated release. Hopefully, they'll bash out the many dents of the server situation before they release the additional tiers. It's been a rough start of the year for Lotro, but I'm ever the optimist. These servers are inherently a positive thing, and I hope that once SSG gets their shit together, we can all look back on this and laugh. Until next time, take it easy.
What's that? What do you mean the forced posh accent doesn't make me sound smarter? Fuck off!